Luke chapter 7, Faith Outside the Borders. The warm evening light of early July filtered through Rachel's living room windows, casting a golden hue over the open Bibles scattered across the large coffee table. Rachel poured the last drop of tea into her mug and looked around the circle, breaking the comfortable silence. We are in Luke chapter 7 tonight, and right out of the gate, Jesus is disrupting everything we think we know about power and proximity. Victoria, sitting with the perfectly straight posture of a logistics executive, immediately tapped the page. The centurion's logic is what fascinates me here. He understands chain of command perfectly, telling Jesus to simply say the word. True authority doesn't need to posture or perform parlor tricks. It just issues a command that preserves life. It's an operational masterpiece. Chloe leaned forward, her sociology background catching the friction of the moment. But don't miss the social subversion, Victoria. You have a Roman occupier using his positional power not to crush his subjects, but to save a low-status slave. And he uses the occupied Jewish elders to ask for help. It's a complete inversion of how the imperial system was designed to work. The narrative focus shifted effortlessly from Roman military might to a dusty road outside the city gates of Nain, bringing a heavy stillness to the room. Hannah, whose daily life as a palliative care social worker immersed her in the raw reality of grief, traced her finger over verse 13. "This is the moment that wrecks me," Hannah said softly. Jesus isn't asked to intervene. He just sees this widow walking behind the open coffin of her only son, and Luke uses that intense Greek word for compassion, esplanchnisth. It's a gut-wrenching somatic mercy. Grace, the oldest in the room, nodded slowly, her own years of widowhood lending quiet authority to her voice. He knew exactly what that coffin meant for her, Grace added. Without a husband, and now without a son, she was facing total economic and emotional liquidation. Jesus didn't just give her a theological platitude about the afterlife. He touched the defiled wood, interrupted the funeral, and handed her survival back to her. And that visceral grace is exactly what shatters all the traditional checklists. Sarah interjected, the tension of her rigid religious upbringing evident in her tight grip on her notebook. We see John the Baptist sitting in prison, doubting if Jesus is really the Messiah, and Jesus doesn't scold him. He just points to the blind seeing and the dead being raised. But then we get to Simon the Pharisee's house, and I feel the cognitive dissonance hit me like a freight train. Sarah let out a frustrated sigh. Simon did everything right according to the religious rubrics, but it's the unnamed, marginalized street sinner who bursts in, weeping and washing Jesus' feet with her hair, who gets the blessing. It feels so messy and offensive to the established order. Rachel smiled gently, recognizing the painful deconstruction happening in Sarah's heart. "It is messy, Sarah, but that's the beautiful geometry of extravagant debt," Rachel explained, guiding the group to the chapter's final verses. Jesus asks Simon who will love the moneylender more, the one forgiven 50 denarii or the one forgiven 500. Grace closed her Bible, letting the profound reality of the chapter settle over the living room. "The one forgiven the larger debt loves more," Grace concluded, her voice thick with emotion. That is the ultimate metric of the kingdom. Redemption isn't a trophy handed out for sterile, perfect behavior. It meets us right at the precise point of our total bankruptcy. The woman knew exactly how much she owed, and that realization didn't produce shame. It manufactured a radical, fearless love that no Pharisee could ever comprehend.